Professor Burkhauser, thank you for your time. Looking in on the Australian proposal for disability insurance, what strikes you most?
Well, what strikes me is the willingness to go forward on such a major increase in your commitment to help people with disabilities in an era where, quite frankly, in both the EU countries and in the United States, we're quite worried about program expenditures, and there are major efforts to reduce expenditures on people with disabilities.
This could be hugely expensive, could it not?
Certainly can be. The Productivity Commission estimated that there were about 170,000 people on the state's programs offering these kinds of services in 2009. They estimate that it will go to 410 or so thousand people in 2018 when all the systems are in place. But in fact, we know that there are 680,000 people with profound and severe disabilities, and there are 890,000 people currently on the your DSP program. So you're going to have a set of criteria for eligibility that clearly delineate those people with severe and profound disabilities who are eligible and those who are not. And one of the concerns is that those clear rules are not currently in place.
What concerns then do you have that the political timetable in this country might be driving the introduction of this scheme more than the practical timetable in terms of how quickly it can be got up and running?
Well, I'm an economist, and what I do know is that the Productivity Commission Committee in 2011 said that we needed 3 years out to July 2014 to set things up so that the demonstrations could be started with the kinds of information that they needed to have to be successful. I don't think there's any scientific reason why we're doing this in July of 2013, having only passed the legislation in March and still having draft rules so that the 4 sites don't actually know what the rules are.
So what is the danger of the government pressing ahead with that timetable?
These 4 demonstration sites were meant to tell us what the serious problems might be as we launch the program. And if you launch it prematurely, you're wasting that extraordinarily valuable test of how the program rules are going to work.
Tell us then what would be a realistic timetable for introducing our NDIS, do you think?
Well, I think the Productivity Commission had it right, and I think it's probably still going to take another year before these sites are up to speed. And just to give you an example, in the United States we have a disability program, and we have a major set of data and databases that allow us to determine precisely what every evaluator's decision is, either coming onto the program or not coming onto the program. And with that information, we can monitor and do quality control on whether across the United States people are getting the same sorts of outcomes regardless of where they try to enter the program. That was actually one of the main points that the Productivity Commission made, that there was great variation in people coming onto the rolls across the states, and they wanted to control for that. So they made it very clear that that kind of IT, the kind of database had to be in place before you launch the sites. I don't believe that those eligibility standards are in place or the IT is there so that the managers of these programs are going to be able to know this information about quality control. And the Productivity Commission, in fact, said that if that quality control was not in place, there was a real danger of a blowout in terms of costs.
So is our haste perhaps threatening the cruelling of the system?
I see no reason from a scientific point of view to rush the launch of this system to July 2013, a whole year before the Productivity Commission suggested, and before I think the sites are going to have enough time so that they can actually test the system. The system is not in place to be tested. They're sort of going to have to do it on the fly, which is not the way we have to do it. There's no real scientific reason for rushing.
As an economist, is a levy a good way to pay for the system?
I'm speaking American English and trying to understand your Australian English, but to me, a levy just means an increase of 0.5 in the marginal tax rates of your income tax system. From an economic standpoint, of course, there's no difference in terms of the revenues. Now, I think from a political point of view, and maybe this is a good idea, it reminds us that these monies are meant for the NDIS, but unless there's some quid pro quo where these funds are actually going to be in a locked box and can't be used by others, and they're sufficient to fund the system, then it's kind of not particularly relevant. I think what we know is that the 0.5 increase in marginal tax rates is only going to raise between $3 and $4 billion, which is much less than the money we currently spend on the system of $7 billion, and will certainly not be enough to pay for it in 2018 when it could be anywhere from, Productivity Commission estimated around $13.5 billion, but that's before inflation, so it could be 13 to 18 billion, and that's if we get it right in terms of eligibility. So it's just a token payment at this point.
As you look forward, if the government, or indeed the opposition in government, achieve this National Disability Insurance Scheme at the end of the day, how will we compare internationally in terms of what we have in this regard?
If we do get forward, here are the really exciting aspects of the program. What people with disabilities who have the most profound and serious disabilities in Australia will have under the system is that they, once they become eligible to participate, they'll have a manager who will work as their agent to work with the agency to give them much greater freedom in making decisions about the kinds of resources they need, and especially who will provide them for them. That's the really exciting aspect of this program, and something the Productivity Commission urged, and we have the potential of making happen. But the problem with this kind of a system is that the participants, in order to actually have a freedom of choice of providers, has to have a whole set of providers out there that are ready to provide services. They aren't there yet. They haven't signed up for this program. We're not really ready to go. So whether this will work or not, we're not sure, and by pushing it forward to July, we're not giving it a fair test.
Professor, we're very grateful for your time. Thank you for coming on Breaking Politics.
Happy to do it.